And we're going to work on that chess app again. But first, I want to show you I have a new playlist. If you find my channel and you look under playlists, you will now see the chess app playlist, fuel playlist. There are currently 5 videos in this playlist, including the one we're doing now. And there are going to be a couple more added as soon as I resolve some copyright issues. I had some background music in my first 2 hackathon episodes, and yeah, we're dealing with that. I think there's an automated way to resolve it. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, 5 for now, and the first one gives a good summary anyway. So, check it out sometime. Yeah, then we're going to take a look at this in a minute. But first, I wanted to mention something. I found a cool new trick. Let me know what you think of this. I've learned how to change my cursor size so that it's bigger. So I think that'll show up bigger, like if you're watching on your TV or something. Should make it easier to see what I'm doing. And give me a comment if you like it, because this is my this is my development machine. I'm going to be torturing myself with this for a while, and if nobody likes it, then I probably should change it back. So just let me know how you like it, what you think of it. If it helps, it might actually help on mobile with a smaller screen actually as well. So hoping that helps. Make it easier to see what I'm pointing at when I'm working on stuff. So incremental improvement. And speaking of which, we need to fix this bug. And for those of you who maybe don't know, you can see this app. It can resize dynamically based on the width of your window, or yeah, the width of the browser window, which is great. Unfortunately, it doesn't resize dynamically based on the height, which means that if the width ever gets higher than the height, the chess app's still resizing it compared to the width. And for some reason, it gets some dead space here. I don't know why. Haven't looked into it, basically. Okay, well, the last thing we want to do is zoom. Why is it doing... Oh, you know what? Keyboard buttons must be stuck. There we go. There we go. 100%. But you can see it's got this extra... Yeah, it's got this extra space. It's because the chessboard's supposed to be square. Or in other words, the canvas is square. But we're sizing it based on the width of the available space in the browser. So that's our issue. We can inspect it, and you can see right here, we got this aspect square. Interesting, 100 pixel aspect square and 100 pixel padding, or sorry, margin. Oh, only on the right side. Right. Now I wonder why we did that. Let's get rid of that and see what happens. Yeah, that makes it even worse. Like here. Yeah, you can see that was just a hack, right, to get it to be slightly better. Yeah, see, now it's too small even when I go back to this normal thing. So this is a very necessary hack to get to actually even fit on the page. There's a couple of signs we maybe need to do better. I was looking before the technique I was using, and unfortunately it doesn't quite apply. I was using object cover. Let me look that up. I found it on Tailwind. Object fit. Yeah, object fit cover. Now, does that apply? Oh, this might work actually. I thought it would only work for backgrounds for some reason, but I might get it to work here. So maybe this works? I need to look at the different options of what they mean. Cover can be great for background images. The replace content is sized to maintain its aspect ratio while filling the element's entire content box. So in that case, we would have something like, you look on here, the board would be square, and it would fill the whole screen, all the height and all the width, but some of the chessboard would be invisible, and like it'd be overflowing the width since the width is smaller. Because in order for it to maintain aspect ratio and also maintain, like, in order to match the entire height, the width has to be bigger than what we can use, right? Because the browser window isn't square. I hope that makes sense. So that's not what we want, but this can be great for background images where you don't really care about the details of the image. You just don't want the middle of the image to be front and center. So that's, yeah. Then there's fill, but this fills the box and it doesn't maintain the aspect ratio at all. So that's not it either. Cover and fill. Okay, that looks complicated. I think what we probably want is contain. A replaced element is scaled to maintain its aspect ratio, yes, while fitting completely inside. It fills the box as much as possible, maintaining aspect ratio. So it'll be letterboxed or pillar boxed, right? I wish they showed pictures of that instead of links to Wikipedia. But you can see here's letterboxing, like they do that with movies and stuff when they're converting between widescreen and normal screen. And here this is pillar boxed, right? So here we have a, you know, what do they call it? Full screen, I think. They have a movie that was filmed in full screen, and it's being cast onto it's being displayed on a widescreen monitor. So they have the pillar boxing. Here we have the opposite, a movie that was filmed in widescreen, but shown on perhaps a regular TV. Of course, when I say regular, I mean really old ones that no one uses anymore. Some of you might be too young to remember that. Anyway, so I think this might do the job for us. But we do have other issues. I honestly don't think we need flex. Well, I say that. We do need flex eventually, but not for this. I think the canvas just needs an element to go inside of. I don't know if I want to get rid of flex right now or not. I do want to put it inside of the div. Without further ado, let's take a look at the code. Whoa, hello. We're running around here. Losing my place. Code is not there. Code is also not there. Where did I lose it? Where did I leave it? Here? Well, this is a bit awkward. Maybe it failed. This is cursor. Okay, it looks like it's still running somewhere. Have I done something dumb? Whoa. Okay. All right, well, the quickest way to deal with this probably is just to kill cursor and start it again. Here we go. Alrighty. Maybe it crashed. I don't know. Okay. Now, let's get rid of AI for now. It hasn't been as helpful as I was hoping, to be quite honest with you. Partly because I'm pretty familiar with what I'm doing. I didn't really need its help with a lot of this stuff. Like, I used it for basic math stuff and stuff I just didn't want to do. And it did an okay job at that. So we need to look, oh geez, really want most of those out of my way. After the use effect, after all this stuff, yes. So we just need to look at what we return. We have this div here. It doesn't need to be flex call. In my opinion, this div should be a cell inside of a flex, right? It shouldn't be a flex itself. Don't need a flex here. I kind of want it to be, I don't want it to be W screen. I kind of want it to fill its parent. Maybe I need to set like a min width. I think that's what I'll do. Let's look at breakpoints just to help us feel inspired. So let's do that now. For some reason the browser wants to be on my other monitor. Tailwind. Breakpoints. Come on, this is a real thing. Okay. Well, that works. Maybe they're, maybe grid. Something. Okay, let me just search through it manually. I think I'll find it. Layout, maybe? Columns. Okay, interesting. I know I've seen this before. Spacing. All right, let me just search for prefixes. Jesus, search is not helping me out. All right. I remember this being hard to find. But search is also not working, so let's go to a play. Like, yeah, it's really slow right now. Maybe AWS went down again. Who knows? Yeah, okay, let's go with that. Probably the list of breakpoints is going to be near the top. There we are. Responsive design. Okay. Yeah. I just need to memorize that that's where we find breakpoints. Okay, so for small, it's 640 pixels wide. For medium, it's 768 pixels wide. Really, that's kind of small. I'm thinking I'll end up needing to set a min width. That's what I'm thinking. Well, we want to take up at least 2/3 of the screen on smaller devices, or anything larger than medium, I guess. That's hardly fair. Let's just go with large. 1024 divided by 4, that's 256. We want to take up at least 2/3 of it. Times 2 divided by 3, 170-ish. Okay. Min W 170. I think that's what we need. That might be all we need. Now in the canvas, we're going to get rid of this stuff. If we need any margin or padding, we'll put it in the parent. We're not going to bother putting it on the canvas. So what I want is object cover. That's not what I want. I really want object contain. Man, their search is giving me trouble today. Okay. Object contain, just as I expected. Okay, I don't think I need anything else on this right now. We'll see if that's enough. That doesn't work. Well, first of all, LG, I need to limit that to large. Well, that didn't have any particular effect. Okay, let's look at the min width. This looks like it's not applying here. Min width. Okay, so it doesn't have a min width. What's choosing the width then? Let's look at computed. Interesting, the width and height are different for this element. Let's look at the canvas element itself. The width and height are 2048. Okay, so it's following its natural size. Interesting. Now this one, height is matching, but width is narrower for some reason. Am I wrong about that? Yeah, look. Look, here's the edge of the parent, and then this keeps going. Okay. Overflow clip. I don't know what to call it. We'll only have to look that up again. We'll leave this page up. Okay. Overflow hidden, that's what we want. Okay, because what I want, okay, you can see that more than half the board is missing there, right, because of this. I don't know what's setting the width, though. Let's find that out. Okay, border I don't care about. Still don't care about border. Border, border. Looks like there's nothing. I don't understand. Well, how big is this anyway? How wide is this? I suppose we can look here. The width right now is 945 of the HTML. Wait, but that doesn't fill the screen. What about the body? It's also 945. This is weird. This is 1216. Okay. Okay, so the entire body is 1216. That might be where this was coming from here. Yes, okay, that makes sense. And you can see max width is here on root, defined in the styles that I have. Okay, that looks like default styles that I don't particularly care about, doesn't it? Okay, max width. Wait. Let's go back to root. Max width is 1280. It's not 1280. Oh, but that includes padding, right? So let's say, okay, now we're moving over here. 1280 minus 64, padding on both sides. That's it. Okay, so this width includes the padding. So basically everything inside this green box is part of the width. And this is just the space available to children. Space available for children to use. Okay, fair enough. I mean, 1280 is big, right? Okay. I don't really care. Okay, so I don't actually care how small it is, to be honest. It can be very small. The only thing I really care about is I want the canvas to fit inside of it. Now that doesn't seem to be working here. So I thought object contain would be enough. Object fit contain. If we remove that, nothing changes. So that's not doing it. Okay. I want it to not be bigger. Well, I could just say, how about this? Max W 100. Max height 100. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. I must have done something wrong there. Not helpful at the moment. We don't need that anymore. Great, learning basic stuff. Okay, we're gonna pull this over, or maybe we won't. Max width. Oh, gee. Guess I'll have to search for it manually. Okay, so sizing? Maybe? No. I mean, yes, but not that specifically. Styling, maybe? Oh, okay. Maybe something like that. Max width. Max W. Okay, that's how we spell it. Find M. Replace with max. There we go. Okay, so at this point, it fits inside. Great. Now this is 400 and this is 400. Oh, interesting. It's smaller now. Okay. I wonder what happens if I make this thing, if I give it a width of 100 and then simultaneously put it inside of a flex box. Like I wonder if I set the width and height to 100, how would it behave with a flex box? But that's something I can figure out later. I don't need to solve that at this exact moment, although it will come up immediately on my next bullet point. Right, the next thing I'm wanting to work on, which for some reason I can't find at the moment. Here we go. Just a second, folks. Actually, better way. Whoa, what was that? Close. There we go. Okay, we're just going to bring it over here. And I would like this on every, well, we'll worry about that later. Okay, so like for what we're going to do here, we can solve the width and height bug without worrying about that. But the very next thing we do when we decide to set up the move list, we're going to want to put those side by side in a flex layout. So I think what was happening before, though, when it was up to 1200, like if we get rid of one of these, okay, that one doesn't work. I think what was happening was the canvas was filling its natural size. Like, in other words, this is basically the canvas appearing without any modifications, without any resizing by CSS at all. It was just appearing at its natural size. And then its container was expanding as much as it possibly could to try to contain it, but it was limited by the root container to be no more than 1280 or to fit inside of 1216 in total. So I think the issue there, yeah, okay. Now the only thing I really wonder is, does max width do anything? Okay, so max width alone will do it. Max height alone, either one of those will force us, what's this spacing times 100? That isn't actually what I wanted. I think instead of 100 I need full. Yeah, when I did 100 I think I was shortchanged myself. Oh, look, it's working. Okay. Yeah. Great. I do sort of want this to be for smaller screens, like smaller than, let's do this. Let's forget about min width here. Let's not even put that. Oops. Okay. And you know what? We're not going to, I was about to set a pixel size and say, hey, it can't be any wider than this. But I think what I'll do is leave it up to the flex box and say, listen, this chessboard should take up 2/3 or 3/5 or whatever. It should take up 2/3 of the flex. I think that's of the flex area. I think that's what I should do instead. And that means we don't have to worry about it now or here. Okay, and with this solution, you know, we're not setting the min height. We're not setting the height and width. We're being flexible. The height and width can be smaller than this. They can be controlled by the parent, in other words. So we're setting the maximum height and the maximum width. So in other words, it can't get bigger than this, which is great. And this really doesn't apply to breakpoints, right? We're just trying to make sure it fits inside its parent. Yeah. Now, do I even need object contain at this point? And honestly, maybe object contain is supposed to go on the parent. Yeah, I wasn't real clear on how that works. Object contain. Now see, this is using an image. Okay, this is interesting. It's using it on an image element. Okay. MDN object fit. Oops. It helps if I can spell. Okay. How the content of a replaced element. Let's see what this means. Replaced elements. The following are treated as replaced elements only in specific cases. Now that's what I need to know. Canvas is only treated as a replaced element sometimes. Replaced elements often have intrinsic dimensions and intrinsic ratio, much like a canvas. Like in other words, if you load an image, right, the image has its own intrinsic size. Right, it has a width and a height, it has an aspect ratio, da 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 da. Okay, well, the following are treated as replaced elements only in specific cases. What specific cases? See also, I guess we have to look at the spec. HTML spec? Whichever one mentions Canvas. I guess my internet might be slow for certain things. I don't know. Kind of a bit weird. Now, let's look for the word canvas. Oops. Is this even the same area? No, it's a completely different area. Okay, well, we just ran away from this spot. An element whose content, now this CSS, is outside the scope of the CSS formatting model, such as an image or embedded document. They often have natural dimensions. Great. Uh-huh. Oh, interesting that the dimensions of the dimensions of an element could potentially leak sensitive information. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I mean, why would the size of an element depend on the person's bank balance, and also how would the browser detect that? That's interesting. But that's a kind of a weird edge case. I guess they're basically just saying, hey, use your discretion if you're building a browser. Uh-huh. Okay, this is a definition, though. It's not defining anything, so it's probably defined here. Okay. Here we go. A canvas element that represents, okay, replaced elements 15.4. The following elements can be replaced. Canvas element that represents embedded content is expected to be treated as replaced. The contents of such elements are the element's bitmap, if any, or else transparent black bitmap with the same natural dimensions. Other canvas elements are expected to be treated as ordinary elements in the rendering model. So, how do I know a canvas represents embedded content? Is there any more information about the canvas here? Canvas. Resizing video and canvas elements does not interrupt the video playback or clear the canvas. That is good to know. That seems useful. Embedded content is content that imports another resource into the document or content from another vocabulary. Okay, see more. Elements that are from namespaces other than this and that convey content but not metadata are embedded content for the purposes of content models defined in the spec. Some embedded content can have fallback content that convey content but not metadata, okay? Canvas element. Categories. Flow content, phrasing content, embedded content. Interesting. Content model, transparent but with no interactive content descendants except for anchors. Oh, you can put anchors inside of canvases? Image elements with use map attributes. Oh, I should be using this probably. Button elements, input elements, because this might replace my hitbox function. Let's see. That was related to canvas, right? Use map MDN. Maybe it'll break it down for me in a simpler way. Okay, it's a property on the HTML image element. What about canvas? Canvas element. Okay, fine. It doesn't inherit from image. That's interesting. I guess they're both too specialized. Use map. If we wanted the collet areas to be clickable, we could do it like this. Oh, we're creating a map here. And it looks like this doesn't go inside the, okay, it doesn't go inside the image, but the image has a use map, use this ID. Okay. MDN HTML map. Okay. Use with area elements to define an image map, a clickable area. Okay. Right. I can see it being used with an image. Using map element with canvas. Is that a thing you can do? Okay, someone's mentioned it anyway. Let's look for map here. Bitmap. I saw the word hitbox, okay. Let's go back. Add a hitbox on top of an image. Yeah, I see that, but it doesn't seem related necessarily to this. Hitbox. Hitmap. Huh, this is kind of not what we had planned for the day, but it's interesting. By the way, is my cursor, has it been big enough for y'all? You know, I don't know if you're watching it on your phone or watching on your big screen TV. Like, does it need to be bigger? If so, we've got bigger. We've got, we can go to 96, baby. Yeah, that's nice and big, isn't it? Yeah, you can really see everything. But I'm not going to torture myself with that unless you guys really need it. So we're going to go with this one for now. If I keep it up full time, if I keep it up all the time, I won't forget to do it when I'm streaming. Like maybe I need a streaming script to set this up and then tear it down later. I'll do that later. Okay. I know we're getting off topic a little bit, but I just want to look at this a little bit and try to understand while it's interesting, I guess. While it's, yeah, we're getting a little off topic, but that's fine. Okay, weirdly, it looks like you can do use map on canvas. No, this guy's saying what he wants. Oh, sorry about the honking, guys. Somebody's honking in the neighborhood. Okay, nobody's answered. Interesting. Okay, so this apparently is supposed to work. I know how to use over an image. Right. Okay. Yeah, this would be great. I could replace my hitbox code with this. Although maintaining it is honestly maintaining it as an array might be less tedious than doing it as HTML. Quite honestly, I don't know which is more performant. I have no idea. I'm not going to try to think about it. But I'm just imagining that the pure JavaScript solution is more performant. Excuse me. The map would be nice if you wanted to do server-side rendering of the chess app. Like I guess if you were using HTMX or something to build your chess app, and you wanted to usually be able to click here and have it register properly and then move the piece using HTMX and server-side stuff instead of doing it locally, you know, maybe a map would be really useful for that. Although, quite honestly, in that case, you could just take the entire canvas and cover it with an image, or maybe use the canvas as an image. Now, maybe that's what they meant. When I look in the spec, when I look here and it says a canvas element, when it represents embedded content, is treated as a replaced element. Maybe what that means is when you use a canvas element as a source of an image, right, a normal image tag, maybe that's what it means. Okay, but this is off topic. DOM interface, sure. In interactive visual media, if scripting is enabled for the canvas element, and if support for canvas elements has been enabled, then canvas elements represent embedded content, consisted of a dynamically created image, the element's bitmap. In non-interactive scenarios, static visual media, if the canvas element has been previously associated with a rendering context, for example, the page was viewed in an interactive visual medium and is now being printed, then the canvas element represents embedded content with the element's current bitmapping size. Otherwise, the element represents its fallback content instead. When a canvas element represents embedded content, the user can still focus descendants of the canvas element, that is the fallback content. When the element is focused, it is the target of keyboard interaction events, even though the element itself isn't visible. That's interesting. It allows authors to make an interactive canvas keyboard accessible. Authors should have a one-to-one mapping of interactive regions to focusable areas in the fallback content. Focus has no effect on mouse interaction events. This seems a bit weird to me, but I think their idea behind this and the motivation was if you had a canvas element on your page, your fallback content would be fully usable, even without the canvas. Sorry guys if you hear a bunch of noise upstairs. I got a little toddler crawling around. Nothing I can do about that one. I think the idea was your fallback content should be fully functional. And then if you build out keyboard interaction events and mouse interaction events on the fallback content, you only have to do it once, and it works for the canvas too. And it says, Authors should have a one-to-one mapping of interactive regions to focusable areas in the fallback content. Focus has no effect on mouse interaction events. Oh, it doesn't we don't care about mouse interaction. I guess for keyboards, oh, I get it. I know why we need this for keyboard accessibility. People who are using a mouse are not using a screen reader. That's what this is about. It's about screen readers. The screen reader can't render the canvas, but they're going to have the keyboard stuff inside they interact with. I probably need to do that for, can I get a link to this paragraph? Is that a possibility? Let's inspect. I'm not seeing an ID there anywhere. Unfortunate. The nearest ID I can find is way up here. Okay, well, let's put that in my notes anyway as a future project. I mean, quite honestly, accessibility isn't high on my list, but maybe it should be. I mean, I wonder if chess.com works with screen readers. I mean, to be clear, like, chess itself is perfectly accessible to the blind, right? Like, I mean, you see top players playing blindfolded all the time. So they've just learned to associate the notation of chess with positions on the board. And I think a blind person could do that. Although, if it's someone who's never seen before, they might struggle with 2 dimensions. No, they wouldn't. No, they navigate the world. So they could just think of it as being in front of them, right? They could literally have a chessboard in front of them while they're playing on the computer. That would be accessible enough. Yeah. Yeah, if they had like a Braille chessboard that lets you know where every piece is. Yeah, I think that would work. So in other words, in theory, supporting accessibility for screen readers is a good thing for a chess app, and it makes sense for a chess app. Okay, accessibility for screen readers. Add an interactive element to the canvas's fallback content for each chess piece. Per the spec, and I'm going to link to Canvas, inspect. Well, I'll just do it this way. Here's our permalink. Per the spec, I don't really need all the links in there. I think I want this as plain text. Cat to dev null. Here we go. Where was I? Can I nest this? Boom. Is that? Oops, that's not what I wanted from life. Shift tab. Oh, that's sad. Okay, it doesn't let me nest that. We'll just have it like that. It's fine. I'm going to be confused by it later. We'll just leave it. We'll be confused by it later. We'll fix it then. I think we fixed this bug. We just need to commit it. So bam. Bam, blam, bam, bam. Okay. We don't need to look at all that stuff. We don't need to go into detail about all this stuff. We're probably done with that. Great. There we go. Tmux attach. R&R. Kind of an ironic name. Now we don't need, you know what? Here's where we had cursor up before, because I remember this was in the same spot as this. But whatevs. Okay, let's go back to cursor and go back to here. Okay. UX bug. Fix scaling of board. Board fits inside its parent with no overflow. Board takes up as much space as is available. Board maintains, I could say intrinsic aspect ratio. Okay, great. Okay, this is all the stuff we've done. Really not that many commits if you look at it. I love how we have a random divorce in the middle of our code base, in the middle of our history. That's funny. Okay, now the next thing I want to do in life is probably not here. Right, I was thinking about using AI to research message passing. So let's do that. Certain websites are just super slow right now. I might end up using a different chat interface. Or is there one open already? Anyway, I don't think I have one open. Let's wait for it. Like, I want to kind of wrap my head around the idea of passing messages in a React app. I decided in the last stream that using a context object, like use context in React, is not appropriate because we don't want to just save some data in there. Maybe it's fine. I guess I want to have some sense of chronology and sequence in the messages, right? Although, come to think of it, I don't know. The individual components need to have their data in the current state, right? Because they render off of their data. Their data has to be up to date. But I still want to have a chronology. I want to pass stuff chronologically. Like I want to pass events because when you trigger an event, it is automatically embedded within a temporal context, right? You fire one event and then you fire the next one, then you fire the next one. So then they're in order, right? They have an inherent order because you're firing them at a specific time. But if you use if you use a context and embed the context in multiple elements and use that, that's fine for managing shared state and managing the current state of things, which would work. But the temporal element is lost. Why is the temporal thing relevant? I don't know. It just seemed easier to think about. All right, we're going to use a different way. We're going to ask this chat. Okay, let's burn some credits here. Right. I'm thinking about adding a message passing framework to my code. Let's just say library. Project. What would you recommend for React? Let's keep it open-ended. It's going to suggest something we don't like and we'll refine it. But let's keep it open-ended. Did I hit enter? I thought I did. Yeah, now it's just going to think hard about life. While it's doing that, let's do our own search. React dev. Is there a blessed way to do it? Message. Interesting. I don't think that's really what we want. Event. Responding to event handlers. Is this... Oh, that might be browser events. Yeah, I don't think we're getting anything useful here because there's so much of an overlap in terminology between what the terms React uses and the terms we want. Message passing for React. This looks right. That might be... Okay, now this is starting to look like we're going to use context. Okay. Redux. Okay. Okay. If you've got no Redux at hand, I love how they're like, oh yeah, we don't have access to Redux. What does that mean? Right. If you're maintaining, then the callback approach from the parent is a sensible way to go. Yeah, if you're maintaining state in the app component, the app then resets the state and triggers. This is from 2017. I just want to assume that use context was available back then when this was written. Okay. This is all getting really complicated, but let's just look into Redux. I don't remember how we got this link or if it was useful or not. Oh yeah, this is from here. Right there. I didn't have high hopes for this. Sure. You don't need a parent and child though. But you're saying pass between parent and child. That's not really what I want. I feel like, no, this is going down the wrong path. I'm not going to read this. Let's not waste our time. We have a solution that's going to be passable. Let's not go digging in the mud. That looks like just that looks like a lightweight article about basic React features to me. Didn't look at it enough to be sure, but yeah, MIT. Okay. Sure. I don't know why multiplayer has anything to do with it, but we're not going to think about that. Event emitters. We don't want to get more complex. We want to stay simple. React Context API built in. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that it brought that up as an option. That's interesting. I see use reducer. I mean, to me, that's just another way of saying use context, right? I mean, I realize that they're completely different approaches. I don't really like use reducer though, because you have to have all of your state handling logic in exactly one place. And there are benefits to that, of course, but like one of the downsides is that one place is going to be super complicated and also super isolated. Like you look at that state handling thing and it doesn't really have a good relationship with the rest of your application. It's just siloed off by itself, and I really don't like that. It can be good if you have if you have a known problem. I guess like a chess app, say. But if you have if you have a readily understood problem that you're trying to solve with state management, building a state machine with use reducer makes a lot of sense then for that specific aspect of your state. And then you can just share that globally across. Like maybe for game simulation, it would make sense where you have basically a whole library of code to use for simulation and you use the use reducer to wrap it just to keep your game simulation stuff all in one spot and away from your UI code, right? Yeah, to me, I think that's the biggest use case. The best and cleanest use case for a use reducer is when you want to integrate, say, a physics engine with your UI code, or some kind of state management engine that already exists or that you're building separately, and you want to separate it completely from your UI code. It's a different code base. It might even be a different language, and you just need a wrapper in. It might be an API call. Just need a wrapper in use reducer to get it. Kind of talking myself into that, to be honest. I'm looking at this page and I can't really understand any of it. That's a bad sign. Let's go to the usage guide, maybe? Okay, well, it's really slow. Let's open 3 things and come back to it. Let's see what chat says. Oh, it said MIT, right. MIT message passing. That's not going to help. Can you get me a link to MIT? Was it MIT? I guess it's on NPM. NPM.js. It's going to be slow though. I guess not. Okay. Yep, going to be slow. Okay, npmjs.com/pat. Okay, I don't have anything in my history apparently. Oh, geez, this is weird. I don't think this is a local issue. Could run a speed test, but that's going to be horrible for my stream. I don't know. It could be local. Let's search for MIT directly here. Okay, well that's making progress anyway. We got the right link. This might not be the same thing. I don't know. I wish, okay, I love when GitHub had the feature where it would show you what language something was made in right at the top. That was really nice. I don't know how to get that information anymore. I know they still track it, it's just not easy to find anymore. It looks like it's JavaScript though. 200 bytes gzipped, huh? Okay. That's really a downside for me. I don't think Node has the most well thought out APIs, which is fine. I mean, it's not like it's a browser, right? Like, it has a different tolerance for churn than the browser does. It was made for the browser, but works on the JavaScript runtime. No dependencies, supports IE9+. That's also a detractor. If it supports IE9 or IE any version, that is, yeah. When was the last time this was updated? 2 years ago. I mean, maybe they perfected it 2 years ago, but I'm just kind of thinking this might not be the answer. In the first place, like, there's no way to know if it worked. Yeah, it's probably not going to even build and install, is it? Yeah, the more I look at it, I'm not really impressed with this. I mean, it's supposed to be really small, though. How big's the source? Is it one file? How big's this file? Maybe I just paste this file. It's MIT license, right? Let's look again. License is MIT, so I just need to include the license in there effectively. Okay, so maybe we just take this and and start hacking on it. Yep, let's do that. Okay, and it doesn't even have to be a good solution, right? Because hacking on that is going to give us a chance to understand what a good solution looks like, or at least what it doesn't look like. Components, what would I call this new folder? We'll just call it MIT for now. Folder, we'll call it MIT. And we'll just copy the license in there as well. Okay, so let's go back to the terminal where this is easy. MIT. Okay, let's grab it. Raw, and then let's grab the license. Raw. wget this. I think I can just grab both links at the same time, right? I think so. Okay, nix shell tac p wget run wget. Oopsie daisy. License, and we'll just try this and see if it works. Funny the wget's not installed by default on my system. I should probably fix that. Anyway. Okay, now we're waiting for the internet again. Oh, geez. All right, so while we're... Oh, hello. Now, see, this is concerning. We're having DNS issues. I hope this isn't related to Oops. Hope it's not related to the AWS thing. Probably not. I'm sure by now they're being extra careful. Let's just read through this a little bit. I mean, I guess we could copy paste it, right? Honestly, that might be the easiest way. It's just to copy paste it. But if it'll download while we're reading it, that'll save us the effort. So we have an event type. Oops, it's either a string or a symbol. I don't care about symbols, honestly. An event handler can take an optional event. Like a symbol to me seems like a fancy string. Like, I guess maybe it has less runtime overhead because you don't care about the... I guess the difference between a symbol and a string is with a string you care about the individual characters. With the symbol, the spelling of the symbol is a debugging aid. And you can, for purposes of runtime, you can just reduce it to an integer value as long as it's unique. You can just say, hey, this is a symbol. It's number 32. This is unique across the app. So like once you've parsed everything in, you can just use that number 32 instead of using the whole string. So I guess that's a real difference with symbols, but I don't care. I don't know why we're having a performance conversation about JavaScript, you know. Anyway, handler, wildcard handler. I mean, I guess, you know, browser-side performance can be important, but yeah, I mean, just do WebAssembly then. I don't know. Wildcard handler. Okay, handler type is unknown by default. It's just a function that pulls an event. Wildcard handler, the only difference is it has a record type, string to unknown. Oh, the event argument is optional, huh? Well, it's unknown by default. So I guess it could be undefined. You have to check if it's undefined or not. So I guess this is true even without the question mark because the type is unknown by default. For wildcard handler, that's not true by default, at least, because you're expecting an object type. Yeah. So we have a function, we pull in the type, which is a key of t, and the event, which is a t which contains key of t. Oh, I think I know what this is, sort of. It's for like dispatch to different kinds of events. I think I get it. You can pass in a whole list of event handlers at one time, I bet. That's what it's about. An array of all currently registered event handlers for a type. Well, this doesn't know if they're registered or not. The type doesn't know, right? But that's how we're using it. So I appreciate the information. Array of handlers. Wildcard event handler list. Okay, same thing. I spent too much time thinking about that, honestly. Huh. Wow. DG maybe? Is that? No, that's not it. Dig. Cache.nixos.org. I don't know why I'm expecting it to work. Like something is down. And that's not my machine because browsing works fine. Let's copy it into our browser. I want to be a good steward, so I'm going to copy the license first so that if I forget, I will have forgotten the code part and not the legal part. License. Paste. Nope. Here we go. And then new file, index.ts. Copy. Paste. That wasn't so hard, was it? No. Okay. Now we have it in our code. Let's close things. In fact, let's close everything. There we go. Okay. Now this is better. Okay, a map of event types and the corresponding handlers. I think this is all we're getting done tonight, is looking at this. Well, we did get that bug fixed. An emitter. Maybe what I should do is just try to use it real quick, although I might not have enough time to really do much. Let's look at the README again. Usage. Import mit. Emitter equals mit. Listen to an event. Oh, I'm starting to get it. Listen to an event of type foo, or listen to all events and then dispatch based on type. Okay. So I kind of called it's dynamic dispatch there. I didn't exactly say it that way, but fire an event. Okay, sure. Okay, great. So this seems pretty doable. I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna copy paste it. Okay, so I want to just close this and ignore it. Yeah, so what I want to do is when a move happens, I want to trigger that. Oh, you know, something I kind of forgot on this app. If you click on something, it disappears. I need to actually solve that. We're not doing that right now, but I need to write it down in my notes before I forget, because I've already forgotten several times. Where'd my notes go? There they are. Bug. When a piece is selected, render it separately. Later handle animations in some way. Research animating with canvas. I want to see what best practices there are around that. Maybe I could just have AI give me a dumb solution and then I could critique it and look for something better. Because as bad as AI can be, like, it kind of will give me an idea of the status quo, right? It kind of give me an idea of what it was trying to do. And it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense that people do it that way. Or maybe it doesn't make sense, whatever. AI is dumb and people can be dumb. That's life, right? Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has bad ideas. So that's, in some sense, AI has fundamental limitations, but in another way, like in one way, AI just has clearly fundamental limitations. In another way, AI is limited specifically based on the training data, which was produced by limited human beings. So some of the mistakes are not there because AI is dumb, but because we're dumb, collectively. So, but it certainly doesn't seem to raise the average. And if you could somehow measure everyone who is below average in a particular skill and say, okay, you're only allowed to use AI for this skill set, but the other people who are above average for that skill set are not allowed to use AI for it, then we could raise the average that way. But who has time to be that strict with themselves or with others for that matter? Okay, get canvas coordinate, handle piece movement. Offset from canvas. I guess if you look at someone's code and it's like, this is worse than what AI writes, you should be writing AI. You should be using AI. You're the vibe coder. You're the person who should be vibe coding, which anyway. AI stuff. Okay, so I'm getting confused. We have a piece that's been selected and we're putting it down. We're moving the piece. Move piece is currently right here. It's currently reactive. Okay. Oops. It's currently part of the React component. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do then is just do... You know what? Let's do it here, actually. Oh, whoa. Close our use effect. Down boy. I suppose use ref would be the right way to do it. Const mit equals use ref unknown. This is going to be bad. Does it accept a function? I think it does, right? Initial value of unknown. Initial value of t or null. Initial value of t or undefined. Okay. Does this serve a purpose if I'm just, I don't know. We're going to do it the normal JavaScript way until proven otherwise, until proven that another way is better. Mit equals, I probably should have a use mit thing anyway. Emitter, okay. Const event emit equals mit. Wait, mit, boom. There we go. We have a type there. Okay. Now this is called emitter, but this is only used for emits, right? This is emitting. This is listening. So the name of this type, the name of this value is wrong. Events. Gosh, okay. Like this is like what? 15 lines of code at most, more like 10. Like, how do we make this basic of a mistake in this little code? Well, it's because you get in a certain mindset and you get stuck on it. But this is not a use case for emitting, right? We should just call it mit or call it happy place. That's happy place would be a less confusing name for the component, because I know then that you're just joking around and not to take the name seriously, right? But with emitter, I'm taking it seriously, and I shouldn't, because it was just a silly name. Okay. Now what I want to do is, if the piece succeeds, if movement succeeds, right here, here's where movement has succeeded. Right here I want to do events dot emit. Type is going to be chess. No. Piece move. We're going to have a list of events somewhere probably. I probably want a wrapper around mit that will give me the types that I want, quite honestly. The event is going to be an object of type unknown. We just put whatever we want in there. Unknown's a sound thing to put there. Okay, we have piece. Now here's the tricky thing. At this point, the position has already changed. So I want to do this before we do that. Yeah. Okay. Piece. Now here's the tricky thing. Yeah, we're just going to do piece.piece. And then index piece dot index, oops, position, new index. I got into my Rust habit. Index. Okay. I don't like the names. Okay, here we go, from index to index. Now there's a sense of directionality. I like that. We have our we have our origin and destination. I could even call it origin and dest. Org or dest. Org index, dest index. I like from and to just fine. And we need to emit this before we change that. Yeah, before we modify anything in the piece. Quite honestly, maybe we should consider piece to be const, but it's a constant reference to a non-constant thing. So yeah, because the properties aren't constant. Anyway, whatever. My point is we could get an error in Rust if we wanted to for doing this thing and then have to do copy. If that's what we truly desired. Okay. I mean, this seems pretty simple. I think we're going to stick with this. I mean, if I want something more complicated, I can just write it. All right, I can just start from here and write. I do want to give some sort of attribution here. And I also want, let's say, commit. Let's look at this commit. Yes. Okay, here we go. I want to look at the tree, though, for this commit. Okay. Cool. How do I look at the tree? Browse files. There we go. Okay. Pulled from here. The data I pulled it from doesn't matter so much because it's, well, it might matter. Well, the date's going to be in my commit message, so I think that's fine. Being explicit is good for legal reasons, but we're going to have proof that it was pulled no later than the date I give in the commit message. Well, I mean, technically you can rewrite those, but you can also technically update this to put the wrong value. So anyway, license is included in the same folder. Okay. Perfect. This gives attribution. This gives license. Yeah, and here's attribution as well. I think that's perfect. I think that, yeah, I think we've met the burden for the MIT license, and we can now modify it as needed. Okay, so git add. I don't mind this so bad. Okay, let's get up here. Add MIT event handler. I think MIT was a great suggestion. Even if it happens to be old, it's like, it's so few lines of code that like it's practically no effort to try and upgrade this if we need to. Like rewriting this is no effort, right? Because it's less than 200 lines of code. Like this is great. This is wonderful. When they said 200 bytes compressed, they weren't kidding, right? So that's good. Okay, so that's, yeah, I'm happy with that. We're going to use this for events until we prove that it isn't good enough. So that means there's no more architectural decision needed to be made. I wouldn't say, okay, we got this done. Oh boy. Okay, so this is not our next time thing. This is a bug. Put this in the wrong list. This is all confusing. It's like nice to track our bug lists, but we'll put that here, I guess. We're going to have separate categories here of stuff. Okay, well, Okay, so next time what I want to do, yes. We don't need this one. I learned something recently. If you put something other than an X here, oh, that's not what I meant. That's not what I wanted. It did what I was thinking, or it did the thing, but yeah, here's what I want. We're not doing that anymore. I wish I knew something I could put here to tell it no. Maybe that? Just one of them, maybe? I want to put like an actual X here rather than a checkbox. Like, no, that's a requirement we're not going to do. Whatever, I'll figure out Obsidian later. Okay, we got our next time sorted. That's great. As far as I'm concerned, we can delete those because those are supposed to be temporary. Next time what we're going to do is, after I spent so much time sorting through it, next time we're going to add a widget, a component for showing the moves made in some way or other. The thing is, if it's a legal move, we want to use algebraic notation. You know what? Actually, if it's an illegal move, we can still sort of use algebraic notation. The only thing is, Yeah, you know what? I'm going to use a modify. I'm just going to give coordinates. I'm going to say it moves from A1 to BC. It's a bishop. It moves from A1 to BC or to B5 or whatever. Like if you make a random movement that doesn't make sense in the game of chess, you can still resolve and figure out exactly what happened. And then if we want to convert to real algebraic notation later, we just need to tell the user to behave themselves and only use real chess moves. I think that's a separate problem, right? Showing the moves made for logging. Logging the moves made. Don't worry about true algebraic notation. Just unambiguously log the piece starting location and ending location. Real algebraic notation can be derived from that, plus capture and check flags. Checkmate flags. Here, capture, check, and checkmate flags can be derived from that unambiguous notation at any time in the future. Can be done later. This is great. We're taking hard stuff and doing it later. That's great. And now we can deliver real value to our fake customers, and then do something better, and then wow them with something even better next time. This is great. This is great marketing. It's great sales. It's great development. This is how we want to do it, right? We're not selling this game at the moment. Anyway, just to be clear, there's no sales. But anyway, that's a future problem as well. Okay. What was the other thought I had? Later, stretch, allow using the log to set the board state. If we're undoing 1 or 2 moves, or even undoing 10 moves, we can just replay the events in order and say, hey, please move this piece this way, move this piece that way. Change the move. Oh, this is good. Yeah, okay. No, I tell you what our stretch goal is going to be. We're going to break this down. Move game stuff into a non-UI game stuff into a, I hate to say it, after knocking it so much, we're probably going to move it into a reducer. Yeah. Move non-UI game state into a reducer. Which honestly, the move list could count in that. Anyway, have the move piece function respond abstractly without affecting UI. Respond to events. Without touching UI. Yeah. Allow the, what do we call it, log component? Move log. Let's give it a name. Let's give it a name, move log component. Allow the move log, excuse me. Allow the move log component to kill beans, eat lizards. Allow it to emit piece move events and have the chess board respond to them. Yes. Dually, conversely, I guess, allow the chess board to emit these events and have the log respond to them. Okay, that's what we're going to do next time. And, I mean, this time we haven't really made any progress. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't knock it. We have made progress here in that this now works at different screen sizes. Oh, no, it's not working the way I want. I wanted to restrict its height. Oh, no, I shouldn't have looked. Okay, it works better than it used to, so that bug is recurring. Okay, let's go back and fix that bug in a better way. I don't want to do it now, though. Partially fixed. Width is much more dynamic. And height can still overflow screen, but not the parent. I think that might be the issue, is just the screen itself being, like, just respecting the screen. Anyway, there's a little more work to do there. Okay, but great. All right, guys, that's that. This is Creative Craving. Please come back next time. I'm hoping to stream again tomorrow, but we'll see what the Lord has planned. And yeah, have a good time. Take care of yourselves. Alrighty. And this is like a Midwestern goodbye. Take care now. See you next time. Be sure to come back. Like and subscribe. All right. Bye now.